All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If everybody could be please be seated. Afternoon, evening. I've been here since this morning, so today is Tuesday, August 9th. We will be starting 5:33. We'll be starting today's special meeting. Madam Clerk, if you can please call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Dansinger.
Present.
Vice Mayor Rose.
Present.
Commissioner Landsman.
Present.
Commissioner Mashine.
Present.
Commissioner Velasquez.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Chief, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay, we are going to move on to item 2A. As usual, we will have public comment before the items start. I don't want to have to go through all the rules again, but we'll see how that plays out. I think everybody here has been here enough times. We will start. Oseki.
Chances tonight. So this is just a very quick comment. It sort of makes sense to hear first from the town manager. There are just a couple of things. At the very first meeting of this commission, I think I sent you all an email with some proposals for the
Gerardo.
Yeah.
Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, sorry. Gerardo Valdastigi, 9148 Froud Avenue. As I was saying, before that very first meeting in April, I sent all of you an email with some proposals for the corner of 94th and Abbott, which I think is a really crucial corner for improving walkability in the town. It's access to Publix, and there are a lot of things that are kind of wrong with the design of it right now, and there's some detailed recommendations there, and I hope they can make their way into our general walkability program. Similarly, I've had some very good conversations with the mayor and with Hector about basically what's called a road diet for parts of Bay Drive. There's a lot of space that's currently just painted asphalt where cars can't drive. There are white diagonal stripes. And I think that reducing that paved space by planting it would have a lot of benefits for calming traffic, also for improving drainage. It could be demonstration gardens for a lot of things, for planting native plants, for having a bioswale to reduce flooding. So there's a lot of opportunities to reclaim some roadway space that will also calm drivers. And I know that this is going to be included in the traffic study, but I just wanted to say it publicly, so I hope it gets mentioned. Thanks.
Jerry, before you go, I forgot to mention that we're doing what we do every meeting essentially, which is kind of grouping the comments for the items so we can try to get through them tonight. So if there's any other, I do have it paused, so if you wanted to continue.
I wasn't aware. I'm sorry. There were a lot of more important things I wanted to talk about. I apologize. Could I speak on, if I could have 3 minutes, if there could be a motion to extend, I would appreciate that. I was not clear on the rule.
I'll second that. You weren't aware of it.
All right, we need a first because nobody actually made the motion.
I'll first it.
All right.
Second.
Do we have a second?
All right. All right.
Okay, so I'm going to reset it.
Okay, I appreciate that very much. Gerardo Valdastigi, 9148 Froud. I want to speak about item 2E, the flag banner policy. That's, I think, the most important thing that I want to talk about today. And I feel that there is something that never got said during the discussion, and I feel this would be a good time to mention it. At the July meeting, a lot of people who spoke in favor of the pride flag were saying stuff like, I can't believe we're having the discussion. I can't believe we have to have this discussion. And I think that, that was evidence of some kind of just massive cultural divide between people who thought this was the most obvious thing cities do and people who didn't see any reason for it. And I want to say something here to the effect of, to explain why the pride flag specifically has to be a flag, why it has to fly on a flag pole, and why the town needs to do it as government speech. And this proposal doesn't really address those issues. So let me say something about the history of it. LGBT people don't have established symbols. At least until the 20th century, we never did. We don't have the cross, we don't have the menorah, we don't have the stars and stripes, we don't have anything like that, because in most cultures at most times in history, we've had to live in the closet and we feared persecution. That was the whole situation behind the Stonewall riots in 1969, where police in New York City were regularly raiding gay bars where men would just gather to socialize, and they did that at risk to their professional lives, to their reputations. Their relationships had to be kept in the closet. They got no legal recognition. They had no public life at all. So when gay people started to make symbols for themselves, they had to make them up for the first time in the 20th century. The most common symbol that was used there was the pink triangle. But the pink triangle had a very specific history. It was something that the Nazis forced gay people to wear. It was a badge of shame. And gay people tried to turn that around and turn it into a badge of honor, but the history of it was one of something that people put on you. That's the context in which Gilbert Baker designed the rainbow flag. And the idea was, no, we need to make our own positive symbol. It has to be something that we created positively, not just something that people put on us and we repurposed. And it has to be a flag. The reason why it's a flag is because a flag is the opposite of a badge of shame that people put on you. A flag is the proudest thing that there is. And that's why we call it Pride Month, and that's why we put a flag on a flagpole. That's why it has to be government speech, and this proposal is only creating a limited public forum. Now, the proposal, again, creates the same confusion that the town attorney injected into this discussion on May 3rd. The mayor gets it completely backwards in his analysis. The limited public forum is what creates the liability. When the town speaks as government speech, there was never any liability. And that is one question that needs to be asked of the town attorney, and I would ask somebody on the commission to ask it. Was the 2021 flag raising government speech? That is a crucial question, and the only honest answer to that question is yes. I briefed it in section 1.1 of my July 11th letter, also in section 2.4. The Supreme Court addressed that very question about Boston, and Boston's flag had fewer elements of government speech than Surfside's did. Somebody please ask the town attorney whether the 2021 flag raising was government speech.
Thank you, Jerry.
I'd like to know that. Point of privilege? Can I get a point of privilege?
That's not point of privilege. That's not how this
Point of,
works.
whatever.
Well, you need to know what it is.
Okay, so I want a point of privilege.
Commissioner,
Commissioner, you're
it is
speaking
public
to the
comment
mic.
right now, and it's time for them to speak, not us. So let's please be respectful to the public. Yes, I am denying our turn to speak right now. Brian Bay?
Brian Bay, 9289 Abbott. As mayor of the town, you really can't expect to receive any flowers until the end of your term. Prior to that, you could really just expect a foot straight up your butt. Now, you're saying the media being weaponized. Thank God for Eliana. Did you know that she was voted Miami New Times Activist of the Year? So without somebody like her letting us know all of the different things that have been going on, I think that we all would be just a little off. So I really feel like this idea of the PR agency is a really bad idea, and I urge you not to do this. I think that this idea is horrible. I think that it is horrifying, horrific. I wonder what fear has prompted you to even put this on the table. And I really feel like if you acted in the interest of Surfside residents, then all of this would just go away.
Thank you, Brian. Joel?
Joel Timmy, 9289 Abbott Avenue. Talking about the flag, to say I was really shocked in the last meeting would be an understatement. I have to say that evening and for a few days following that, I really wondered if Surfside was where I wanted to be. I didn't especially feel welcomed. I really felt, and I think it was just because it came as such a surprise to me that we're even having that discussion in 2022. So I guess I was somewhat, shocked at the whole response that we received. And, I hope we had a little time to think about it and, kind of put that last meeting behind us maybe and, come out ahead. Just a couple words. A lot of people got up here and talked about their brothers and sisters and cousins who are gay. And I would urge those people to talk to your brothers and sisters and cousins and ask them what they would think about how we should proceed on this issue. As far as other flags go, I would support I think it was the Israeli recovery team. If they had a flag, I would be out here cheering 3,000% for that, to have them raise their flag while they were here. That was the things that they did while they were here were amazing, and they should be celebrated. And if they have a flag, we should do that. But if you're gonna talk about other flags, and then you get into, I don't know, Shlomo's birthday, and I don't know, some of the other ridiculous things that were brought up, like, let's be serious, that was all just bitchy talk. Like, really, when I look at that, like, that was bitchy talk. Like, stop that. Like, it's just becoming such a volleyball. It's kind of obscene, quite frankly. I just want to say, some of you're just on the wrong side of this subject. I hope you had time to think about it and think about really the message you're really trying to send. That's why people are paying attention to Surfside. And funny, I used to never tell people I was from Surfside because nobody knew where it was. Seriously, they really didn't. They'd say, "Oh, is that near South Beach?" And I'd say, like, no. And unfortunately, everybody knows where we are now. Good or bad, that's the way it is. So here we are. So thank you.
Thank you. Jeffrey Platt?
Am I to speak on one issue, every issue?
Yes, we are talking about public, we're getting all the issues right now, as we have done for every meeting so far.
We've never done that, ever. This is a brand-new rule. First of all, I object to these 5:30 meetings. I think they were stupid.
Name and address, please.
Jeffrey Platt, 9225 Collins. I think these 5:30 meetings is a stupid ploy to keep residents away from these meetings so you could do business without resident input, period. First thing, the pride flag. I think a good suggestion might be to paint one of the turtles in the pride colors. That would be a great alternative and probably make everybody happy, because after all, the turtles are painted really beautiful. So I think one in the pride colors would alleviate things. Now I want to talk about seaweed cleanup on the beach. Is this a joke? Is this really a joke? For 3 weeks, we have seaweed on the beach, and the town wants to pay to remove it? First of all, the seaweed is a wonderful thing that we get. It stops erosion of the beach. It protects the beach from erosion. Nobody removes it. That's nonsense. Where would you take it? Where are you going to take that seaweed every day? I've talked to the bulldozer people who bulldoze the beach every single day and bury the seaweed. That's the answer. It's the best answer. Removing it is just plain stupid. Okay. Now, obtaining a public relations firm? What's the matter, Shlomo? You can't take the heat? Really? From a few residents like me, you can't take the heat. How much you want to spend on this public relations firm that you want to pick? Not that the town picks, you want to pick it personally. Is this going to be one of your Orthodox friends going to teach you this? Is that what this is? To give him money just to give you advice? I urge the commission, please, you can't vote for this. This is nonsense. He wants his personal Ahmad Rashad. You know who he was. He made Michael Jordan the greatest player ever. That's what his job was. That's what you want to do here? That's crazy. It's just nuts. I can't really talk about the future format of the Town Gazette. We don't even know what it is. How could we talk about it? One of the things here is a discussion to hold a public forum, and we don't know what that is either. So how do we speak about that? I mean, you ask us to speak, and what are we speaking about? I mean, I live in a condo. We don't even know what the new laws are. Okay. I have nothing to say about proving walkability in the residential zone. I think it is how it's always been since the beginning of Surfside.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Eliana? Salzauer?
Eliana Salzar, 9317 Bay Drive. I want to say for the record that I object to these 5:30 meetings as well. Residents, it's almost impossible for them to make it here, as you can see, by the lack of participation. These are supposed to be public meetings that are for public input. This is the one time a month that we get to weigh in on these items, and they should be held at a time when residents can attend. This is a deliberate evasion of public participation. So I would urge you to not have special earlier meetings unless it is something of vital importance that really is a timely issue. Tonight's is not. Moving on to the items, again, no one can say it better than Gerardo did. We do not need to have a public forum flagpole to fly the pride flag. That is ridiculous. That is a rabbit hole that we are not going to be fooled into going down. We're not going to be fooled into deciding who gets what flag what month and every group that wants to come out and do it. Because like Shlomo's daughter herself said, how about a flag for her dad's birthday? How about a flag for the Rebbe? How about a flag for Israeli Day Parade? How about a flag for whatever other organization wants to have done, right? Government speech is just that. It means 3 out of 5 of you say, we'd like to fly the pride flag. This is 2022. We're in Miami. I was so embarrassed at the last meeting. I've lived here for 17 years. I love this town. And that meeting was the first time that I looked around and said, my God, maybe I don't belong here anymore. Okay? I'm being really honest here. I don't want to live among hateful people. Anyone who has the audacity to use their outside voice and come up to a microphone and on the records in front of cameras say those sorts of things, I don't want to call those people my neighbors. I'm embarrassed. And I think we all need to take a look around and say, what kind of community do we want to live in? Because we're going down the wrong rabbit hole here. We don't need a public forum. This is government speech. There's already 3 of you. I know Commissioner Landsman, Maishan, and Velasquez all said, let's fly the flagpole. I believe even Jeff Rose said fly the flagpole. So why are we not flying the pride flag on our flagpole? Why didn't it not fly? Why? Because the mayor doesn't want it. We don't need a public forum. So this discussion should be end of story, 3 votes. No, don't even second the motion when it's up for discussion. You don't need to second. Just because someone has a bad idea on an agenda doesn't mean it's up for discussion. Everyone doesn't have to be Switzerland here. We don't have to agree on everything. Just because you have a bad idea, sorry, not wasting anyone's time tonight. Move on. It's government speech, fly the pride flag next year, and then every year it'll be up to 3 commissioners, and then the people who live here will have a chance to elect people that reflect their values. The people that are sitting up here right now do not. I guarantee you that. If you see how many people signed our petition, you will understand that. Now, going back to the public relations firm, weaponizing the media, this is the most insane, paranoid, delusional thing I've ever seen. The solution to bad press is not making bad policy. You are reaping the results of your own bad policy. Do the right thing. You have already a communications department internally. If the person running it can't do their job, then replace them with someone who can. That's it. I'm one voice. The residents' voices deserve to be heard. You don't spend taxpayer dollars to revamp your image. Thank you.
Thank you, Eliana. Julio Rumbart.
We're on about 8855 Collins Avenue. I moved here recently, and I'm shocked by 2 issues. One is the gay pride flag issue. Where in 2022, I've taught my 6 kids to be accepting, forbearing. It just makes no sense to even have a discussion. And I see some smirks on the podium. When it's talked about, it's even worse. The second issue is the public relations firm. Your memo, Mayor, talks about, basically, you saw my letter today, how to protect the town because of a tragedy from bad publicity caused by a group of citizens, residents, who have a right to an opinion. It is not about Orthodox Jews. It is not about that. It's not about any kind of group, ethnic group, Jewish, Hispanic. We're a great community with a mixed flavor. And I was raised in New York, and I know what mixed flavors are and how good they are for a city. But to try to, as you said, paint your own mistakes by paying with our taxpayers' money for a public relations firm with the intent, you wrote in your memo, to protect the image of this dais is unheard of. Thank you.
Thank you, Julio. Ben Jacobson.
Ben Jacobson, 9455 Collins, apartment 309, Surfside, Florida, 33154. So, just to speak on a couple issues here, turtle-friendly lights on the beach. I look out at the beach from my condo, and at night, it's scary back there. You see all kinds of things rustling in the bushes. The police come by every half hour, 45 minutes. You know, in the winter, it gets dark early. It'd be nice to be able to walk along there, feel safe, have a great area. It's done in Bal Harbor. It's done south of us. There's no reason that that area out there in the beautiful area we have should be restricted to daylight hours only and strange things happening in the night. So totally support that going through as long as the lights stay dim. No one wants the light in their condos. Nobody wants the turtles going on. Just, you know, enough to see and walk and feel safe. We're going back to the flag meeting, I guess, because we've had plenty of those. And, you know, what it really comes down to is creating a process and a system where anybody, as long as they have enough support of their neighbors, of their people, can get together and say, we support XYZ item. This should not be something that the commissioners vote on. We like this group, we don't like that group. This should be something that's driven by the community, that's pushed by the community, and hopefully if we can come together with a policy that gives everybody the right to have their speech, have their group, have their support, it'll make everyone just, you know, feel better, operate better. It needs to be across all the different groups. It should not have any sort of, this year we voted, this year we don't. It just makes hate. And the whole idea behind a flag is to unify. We unite behind the United States flag, the state flag, the city flag. So if we're going to put up something for the town, let's have that as a flag that we all can support, or we can say enough of our neighbors support it, so let's support them. And finally, the obtaining a public relations firm. I mean, I can't tell you how many texts and emails I've gotten from people over a number of town crises that have happened. And, you know, every time something happens, Surfside's in the news, well, why didn't the town do this? And why didn't they put out a press release like this? And why did they say this? And when you go and you start talking to each of the different department heads and find out what happened, you realize the town's doing actually a pretty good job over here. But unfortunately, we're really bad at messaging. The town doesn't get their information out there. Even on the tourist board, we have a hard time getting the events out there to people. Especially in a crisis, we need to have somebody who we can go to, whether it's internal or external, but someone whose job it is to handle that. And nobody's allowed to talk except it goes through that person, and they've got to be damn good at their job. Otherwise, we're screwed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ben. George Kasoulis.
George Kouslis, 9225 Collins Avenue. I just wanted to dwell on a couple of the more unpopular topics. One is walkability. My neighbor Gerardo made some very good points about road diets and the various features associated with that. What you're going to find is that that's going to be a difficult thing, a challenge for you, but it's a worthwhile challenge. And I think at the end of the last meeting at about 1:15 maybe, your Public Works Director was just getting into the part of the challenge, which was the width of the roadways, and that something had to give. So think about that one very carefully and the challenges ahead. The other thing is the issue on the condo forum. Now, if you read the entire item there, it's very clear what it's about. And it's about, and if you go into the packet, there's a little bit more information, but this is an issue or a bundle of issues that affects over half the population of the town, people that live in the condos. The landscape is changing out there dramatically. It's changing in ways that could force people to lose their homes because they have no other choice but to sell, bulk sales. Because some of these condos are going to be looking at very, very large payments. The same size payment that unfortunately led partially maybe to the tragedy of a year ago, where they're staring at $16 million for an assessment. So, and Tallahassee is changing the rules and getting serious about things. And for all too long, people in Florida have been able to skate by on a lot of this because the hammer will keep on coming down next year and then the year after and the year after, and it never does. But that's changing. So I think a forum that addresses this is very welcome and very necessary. And I would hope all of the condos take care, advantage of this, and that it becomes an active discussion in the town here. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Is there anyone else that put through a card that I didn't call up? At this point, we're going to close public comment, and move on to discussion within the commission. Item 2A, update on improving walkability and pedestrian safety within the residential area. Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to invite Hector up to kind of recap what he said last meeting and to move forward with some more information on the walkability. We've been doing some work with our engineering firm, and he will update you.
Thank you, Town Manager. Hector Gomez, Public Works Director. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, happy Tuesday. We're gonna pretty much pick up where we left off last time, which was we're going over some of the items we're currently working on, provide some information to you to assess and ultimately give us some direction to move forward with. And we'll continue to do this on a monthly basis. So a lot of these items were intended for last month carried over, but let's try and update them as best as possible. I'll also start off with the Corradino Group traffic study that was approved last commission meeting. That was engaged, contracted, purchase order has been released, and we have the first kickoff meeting with Corradino Group on August 26th. So what's going to be as part of that is we're going to develop a schedule. The schedule will involve coordination with a workshop with the residents to absorb some information that will ultimately be used for the traffic study. And we'll establish what the town objectives are, which are consistent with the contract we executed. So that is in order, and August 26th will be our first meeting with the engineer of record that will undergo this. Another item is the shared roads. We semi-blitzed the residential area with some signs, pretty much emphasizing that the roadways are shared. Has visuals of kids playing, some are just children that play. And then at the entrance of every 300 block, we have a shared road with a vehicle, cyclist, as well as a pedestrian, just to emphasize to everyone coming into the residential area that the roads as they stand right now, they are shared roadways, and we all have equal responsibilities. We put something out there in the Gazette as well as, I believe, an email blast, just to remind everyone what our responsibilities are. Cyclists have responsibilities, pedestrians have certain safety responsibilities, and above all, vehicles that we're sharing the road. Let's slow down in the streets. We actually have a little bit of funding left in the fiscal year. We'll order a few more signs just to deploy them in some other areas that we feel strategically would work. Secondly, thirdly, and this is, we were tasked as an administration to look at can we implement multi-use lanes on the residential areas? A shared lane that can serve for as a buffer, as a safety buffer, so that there is a visual on the street that vehicles can see and residents can use as a detergent for multi-use, walk-in, cyclists, etc. As a result, we reviewed the two options, which are your streets and your avenues. And we determined what our existing conditions were, what do we have present, and what we would have to trade off in order to make this work. As it currently stands out there, we don't have the minimum widths to currently hold what we're currently doing out there, which is two-way parallel parking, two-way vehicular use. The streets are a little bit more constrained than the avenues. The avenues, we have an average of 32 feet, the streets 26 feet. So when you start measuring out your minimums of 9 feet for vehicular way, two ways 18, plus your 8 and 8 for, which is your minimum width for parallel parking, you're at 16, so 18, 16, you're at 34 feet. So even in the best case scenario on a 32 feet road, you're with 34 feet. So we're already, as it stands out there, not meeting what we need. And you feel it at night when everyone's parked out there. You feel how you kind of have to merge your way into the center, kind of to work your way through traffic. And that's the consequence of that we don't have the minimum there. So if we were to include a multi-use lane, there is an opportunity cost for that. Do we trade off? And the trade-offs on the streets are a little bit more aggressive than the avenues. The streets, it's the report, what we ultimately led to is you're going to have to most likely sacrifice one of the vehicular travel ways. On the avenues, it's looking like just one of the parallel sides. And that's just something to consider moving forward as we make decisions, that there is a decision to be made there, but currently as it stands, you cannot implement a multi-use lane unless we sacrifice something. But it goes along well with the road diet topic, as well as a traffic study and just creating a safer pedestrian approach. And there is options there. It's just weighing out the information you have at hand. Lastly, we did receive a notification back from Miami-Dade County regarding 88th Street. We have installed stop signs across 88th Street from Abbott to Hawthorne. Some of those signs were installed because of a safety concern. The county asked us to please look at this since you don't meet the minimum criteria for the county, which is your traffic at the high peak, the amount of traffic going through these intersections. It's not enough to justify these. So we let the county know they're there for a reason, and that's safety. So the answer is not pulling them. The answer is let's look for an alternative. So we engaged the county and advised them that we are doing a traffic study, and the traffic study will seek to find an alternative there. By alternative, it's most likely going to be some type of roundabout or some type of traffic mitigation where you don't have a car, or the car doesn't have the opportunity to just go straight forward, or rather has to somehow reduce traffic due to some kind of road modification. So what it did, it bought us some time. The traffic signs can stay, the stop signs. And other than that, we have a few updates. They're kind of in the grind, but I will provide you a further update next month, and it will also include where I am at with the traffic study and the schedule, and ultimately you'd be able to provide us some input that we can incorporate, and it's a two-hand process as we go. I'll turn it over if you have any questions.
I just have two questions. In regarding the shared road signs, I know we had spoken about updated A-frames. They were supposed to be ordered a couple months ago. Were we holding with those?
When you say A-frames, what are you referring to,
The ones
Mayor?
that were placed in the road that said children at play?
This was a task that, remember, it was sponsored, it was spearheaded by the police department. I haven't engaged the police department in regards to that. We did the shared road on the signs on the poles, but we don't have those. I couldn't tell you from operational standpoint what the lessons learned from it. If we were to do something like that, I would say find something a little bit more durable. It seems like a lot of these vehicles would hit them. Somehow they would end up on the road. We tried to mitigate it, or the police department tried to mitigate with sandbags inside. And after a few times, they do decay a little bit. So if the opportunity is there, I would say, I don't want to speak on behalf of the project, but I'd say that's definitely something to work along with the police chief and myself.
All right, I just have two more. The traffic mitigation as far as circles, things like that, is going to be part of the Corodino study? Are they going to come back with these solutions?
It is. So this is, in a way, this is more not geared towards the road diet, but more converting asphalt areas to green space areas. And not necessarily usable green space, but what could be currently a roundabout, asphalt, that could be a roundabout or a traffic modification. It could be a triangle wedge that's currently painted, can be turned to a planter with a low point in it so that water flows towards it. And that's definitely going to be incorporated in the traffic study as potential.
Solutions.
Yeah.
As far as walkability within town, which was something that was a big point for this commission coming in, what is the holdup with that? Like, where are we holding with that? Because we've kind of had this discussion of what we're looking for, right? The green lines were way too expensive. We want to do some sort of bike lane, shared lane. What's stopping us at this point from implementing something like that?
I'd say looking at this at 2 points right now, where we first want to know what is going on. The traffic study, and I don't want to rely as that as a crutch, because there's perhaps items we could do prior to the traffic study being finished, but we do want to know what's going on. We want to know how the traffic patterns, not just vehicular, but as well as pedestrians are. What do we know already? We know there's a lot of inflow of traffic coming towards Town Hall in the evening hours. So we know 93rd Street is probably a higher use pedestrian avenue. Do we have areas there where we could probably try and install some sidewalks? Definitely an option, and it's within our toolbox because we do not have to seek a county approval for that. Once we go onto the roadway, it involves the county. And ultimately is, what are we trying to do? We know we want to increase pedestrian safety. Do we want to move forward with some type of multi-use lane? And if that's it, what's the opportunity cost it's going to take? Are we going to sacrifice the parallel parking? And if so, I kind of need a little bit of direction there so we can move, or we need some direction so we know how to move forward. My recommendation, easiest thing, we do have areas currently right now that you can install sidewalks. And I'd say we sketch out the high areas so we can install sidewalks of 5 feet, 6 foot widths, and see if we can move forward with that. There is a cost incurred of that, so that's something I'd have to work out with the financing, but ultimately we are walking into a new fiscal year, so maybe that means something.
All right, I mean, first of all, you guys have addressed 95th and Abbott, you've addressed the Byron Circle that was giving cars issues, so I want to appreciate, I want to thank you and your department for going out and addressing these issues, and I know you're still looking individually at some corners and fixing that, so, I want to express my appreciation with that.
Thanks. 95th and Abbott, that roundabout, do you want to, Commissioner Velasquez did help out with
95th and Abbott is the
the Byron roundabout, where we coordinated some items there that worked out. And it's not finished, but at least there's something immediately done. And we're probably gonna leave those barricades there for a while, just to kind of convince the vehicles. We noticed that a lot of the trucks going through, a lot of times it's the same trucks, just through daily patterns. So we can influence their behavior of how to re-educate them or train them how to take on that roundabout. Perhaps they don't go as deep into it or as tight into it. And I guess if we could educate one driver or two, it's somewhere we're getting,
All right, so I guess before we move forward and discuss the walkability, I'll open up to questions within the commission. Does anybody have any questions? Commissioner Velasquez?
Thank you, Hector. That was very good. In terms of the walkability and putting sidewalks or even the white lines, wouldn't we have to do first the undergrounding so we're not wasting money and throwing it in the garbage and then having to rip out whatever we need to do the undergrounding and then repaint again? Or is this can be done and not harm this walkway while the undergrounding is being undertaken? That's one of my questions. I have others.
Commissioner, through the mayor, it's a point of consideration. Whatever you do immediately will commence the educating and creating the culture of safer pedestrian areas. So if you do something immediately, you will start creating that pattern. What does that mean? When the undergrounding project does start, whatever is there, that would be considered the existing condition. So we would restore everything to that new existing condition. So ultimately, will there be a few eggs broken? Absolutely. But ultimately, you are promoting the walkability. There's some things to be coordinated. The common utility trench that will be used for the utilities project is going in one place. It's not going everywhere. So there's areas within the profile of the roadways that we could look into so that we can minimize the amount of eggs we break. It's a point of consideration if you want to do it now or sooner. I would recommend there's certain things you could do now that would have minimal impact with the utilities undergrounding project.
My other question is, you mentioned on 88th Street that there's some stop signs that the county doesn't want you to keep there. And you also mentioned the idea of roundabouts, smaller roundabouts, which I love the idea because you can put some vegetation there, create more green spaces for our town. There's a lot of trees that are being knocked down because of all the construction that's taking place all over town. Is that something that can be done now, or do we have to wait till the traffic study is done to be able to create a new roundabout?
I think the end game for some of these intersections, or based on our discussions with the county, the end game would be that these stop signs will meet their end day, and ultimately they will be replaced with something. So from a pedestrian safety standpoint, at least we're accomplishing that. From a permanent infrastructure, I would wait for the traffic study at least to get us to a certain point that we could go ahead and back up a certain type of project, which would mean us being substantially completed with the traffic study so that those recommendations are at least are firm and concrete. But I would wait for that traffic study to get us to that point. The traffic study, I believe we're looking at aggressively. We were able to shrink it down slightly on the schedule just because we're going to start the traffic counts sooner. We're going to take advantage of school starting, so there's going to be a lot more traffic. So the goal is September, we're going to start putting traffic counts throughout the town. You'll see those. If we can back up some of these projects sooner than later, absolutely.
And how long do you expect this traffic study to take before you come back with some results here?
The final recommendation, and based on the schedule, the way we've preliminarily talked, it would be ironed out on paper on August 26th, is you're looking at a 10 months project right now. That means sometime little bit later than now. So probably around November, I'd say, August, September, October of next year, we will have some kind of tangible projects that we could probably implement, and which kind of lines itself with the fiscal year. So we could already start funding some projects so that the traffic study is done, we could be shovel-ready sometime 2 months from now next year, if that makes sense.
Do we have to wait for the full traffic study to be done to start mitigating some of these areas? Or we have to wait till the whole thing is completed before we make any decision on anything that wants to be done in town?
I would wait till we have confident enough data out of the traffic study to make that call. So what I mean by that is when we feel comfortable enough that the information we have at hand can back up some of these projects, I would agree to let's proceed. I don't want to put a date to that, but I do want to say that once we get there in the traffic study that we feel comfortable to back up some of these, why not?
Through the mayor and town manager, thank you, Hector, thank you, Andy, for all the hard work. Just two quick things. One is I'm fully supportive of the one-way streets and especially painting them with the white stripes. I lived through the trial. I thought that was a really good thing that we implemented, and I know it was previously looked at from the previous commission. It was maybe 20,000 versus a couple $1 million, white versus green. So for that amount of money, I'd be comfortable implementing that right away. The second thing I wanted to ask you was, is the study going to look at potentially creating some dead-end streets and soft gating the town? Is that at all in the study? Maybe putting a couple gates up in the town, not man gates, but card reader gates, maybe 89th, 90th, 92nd, closing those off, then maybe creating gates throughout the town. Is that at all in the study to look at, to see what that would be? I'm not talking about a Bal Harbor gate, just a soft gate. Is that at all in the study?
Vice Mayor, through the mayor, the study will not give us a concrete, it would not recommend gates. It's because it's not aimed at looking at that. It would look at all the entries through the residential streets in Surfside and tell you these areas are your hotspots. At that point, we should evaluate further how do you address these hotspots. It will let us know what's within the toolbox of what's legally allowed currently within just your permitting process with the county. Then that would be a recommendation that would definitely involve another tangent process because you're not looking at gating a community, and that is something that's beyond the traffic study.
Commissioner Lansman?
Just a couple thoughts real quick. The idea of sidewalks that you can do currently without approval from the county, would that require any, taking away any property from any of the homeowners?
And Commissioner, through the mayor, any project we pursue to approach right now, we would find and we will rate them from easiest to hardest. And as part of that rating process would be understanding of the owner, and I want to even say is getting their approval because it's in front of their house. Would it involve taking over private property? No, because the right-of-way line, how it's perceived, may not necessarily be how it is. But ideally, you do have throughout town a good average of 5 feet behind a curb that belongs as a town dedicated right-of-way. With that said, just like we were able to do 95th and Abbott through talking to those residents, I feel comfortable that there's certain areas, based on already discussions I've already discussed with a few residents, that they would be encouraged for it. They would go for it. And some of the areas I have in mind are not the avenues, because talking with 22 residents is not the same as talking with the streets with 4 residents. So definitely be along the street sides. It's just easier and it scales it down so that we can implement things a little faster. I got a feeling that 4 residents is a lot easier to talk to than 22 and get the buy-in of 22 residents. I do feel comfortable that there's certain areas, because we're not doing something that it's gonna be unaesthetic. We're proposing paver sidewalks. Really nice shellstone paver sidewalks. They really fit in with the town feel. Once you put the sidewalks, you need crosswalks. They're not gonna be just regular striped crosswalks. We'll have nice paver crosswalks. So it's something that's gonna look nice. I think once you explain to people that what we're trying to do is that, I think the buy-in is there, because it does promote a safer street, and it's a little bit more aesthetic than just the asphalt you see right now.
And just a general comment, the timeframes are, I know you can't control it. A traffic study would take 10 to 12 months, recommendations 14 months. We're all getting, it's gonna take too long. To Commissioner Velasquez's comment about the undergrounding probably won't physically take place for a couple of years before they actually start breaking ground. So my request through the mayor is get stuff done now. Everything you can do today, tomorrow, the next day, get it done so we're safer as a community. We have more places to walk. We have more green space, whatever it is. So we can't, and again, it's hearing 12, 14 months, and then you plan for whatever projects come from the traffic study. That's another 6, 8, 10 months. We got to do it sooner than later. So please, whatever you can do, sidewalks, additional roundabouts, changes, tomorrow is great.
Sounds good. August 26th, when I meet with the engineer, I'll explain these points, and let's try to get some projects ready to go. As well as the sidewalks, that's it's a decision. Do we want to move forward with it? And if so, I just need to know. We just need to know.
Commissioner Maishani,
I want to thank you for your thorough presentation, and all my questions have been answered. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
actually, I would like to ask a question. So as far as walkability, are we ready to start implementing it, right? We campaigned on this. Apparently, the majority of the residents want that. School is starting again in a couple of months. The kids will be riding their bikes through the streets. It's important that we start implementing this. Do we require the county and just go, right, because the county needs this study before they approve anything, or can we start implementing these shared lanes already? What's holding us up at this point?
We need to know what the opportunity cost. We know we're gonna have to sacrifice parallel parking if it's an avenue, or we know we're gonna have to sacrifice on the streets parallel parking and a roadway, similar to what we did with the 89th, 90th Street one-way study.
Yep.
It's just a matter of making a decision of what do we want to sacrifice and, how.
So is there a motion to start implementing this?
Oh, I will gladly I don't want Jason to hear this, but I'll make a motion to paint the streets white and do the one-way again.
And I do want to add, just whatever we decide on, there's funding involved with this. So
That's why we don't talk to Jason right now.
well, he'll talk to me tomorrow for sure.
Let's just clear the motion, then you can ask the question, yes.
The one-way trial that we did before, I'm comfortable continuing that with what we had before, painting the streets white, implementing that, doing the one-way streets that we had before, and take that farther down the town and see where that goes.
Now, when we go onto the street, just sorry to interrupt.
Yep.
The streets, you are interrupting a traffic pattern, and that would require county approval. The fastest way for that would be to propose that it's another a pilot program, but we do need county approval the moment we start converting one-ways. While on the avenues, you don't need county approval. It's just,
As a pilot approval.
then the extent of the project, best I would say is, let me gather my head around how much this is going to cost based on what you tell me as a commission, and then we'll bring it back forward as an
Can I
expenditure.
have a point of clarification, Mayor? Is this where in town? One-way streets where?
Throughout the residential neighborhood.
Throughout the residential?
So, and
As the
again,
pilot program.
and again, if it's
Pilot program.
so my understanding, and I don't know if it's the right time to ask the question, we'll perform a pilot program on the streets, but that has a cost impact affiliated with it. So let us put together a program on paper for your review and approval. Then we will take it to the county level.
Mayor, I need a second to the
Give me
motion.
a second.
I'll second.
All right, before we vote on it, Commissioner Velasquez, you had a question?
Yes. Will you be preparing or reaching out to residents throughout our town, getting a survey, seeing what people want? Because you're talking about taking away parking. Most households have 2, 3 cars, and most driveways can only handle 1 or 2 cars. So what happens to car number 3? And a lot of our residents are now high school students that take a car to school or to work, and they still live in their household. And now you're adding another car, so this is a 4th car. So, and then you're gonna be taking away parking for walkability, where I think really this study needs to be done first before we doing any crazy money. I understand that maybe $120,000 for some people means nothing, But, you know, I think honestly you have to do this study and be able to address these kind of things before you go out there and not take under consideration all the residents that this might affect. And especially not listen to your residents, because they're the voters. They're the ones who put us here. And their voices should be heard, and their voices should be taken under consideration for any decision that this commission makes. Because the decisions that this commission makes affects every single resident in our town. And that's wrong to not go that route. So
What
I'd
is
like
your
to know
question to
what,
the-
okay, I'm talking.
I'm asking what the
Okay,
question
I'm
is.
talking. Once I finish, then you can talk.
Okay, as soon as you go in circles, you're done. So
Okay.
please finish your point so
No,
we
I
can
know, you
continue
don't
this
tell me
meeting.
what I have to say.
Commissioner,
You
please just
gave me
finish.
the privilege of speaking, and I have my 3 minutes. Are they up, yes or no?
You're
Okay,
not timed.
that's what you have
speak
to
until
tell
you're-
me,
excuse
that
me,
your, my
Commissioner,
3
don't
minutes
tell
are
me how
up.
this
No, you will
works.
not shut me up.
Commissioner, ask your question to.
I am asking my
so
question,
ask
I'm
him, 'cause
getting
you-
there. Until you rudely interrupt me like you interrupt everybody else.
Commissioner,
Okay,
finish
so
your
my question again is, will you be engaging the residents in these decisions? Like in the terms of, in a survey, or like that monkey thing that we did for the park, something like that?
Commissioner, and through the mayor, the traffic study is, it's you know, it's an engineering
All right, if I
study
may,
that needs to be.
Hector, you're the Director of Public Works, not
Yes.
Communications, not the Town Manager. This is not
Correct.
directed towards you. So we heard your question. Thank you. I think we're ready to call the vote on this. I think the people have spoken. The fact that we're all sitting up here on the dais and this is what we campaigned on. I think the residents did have a conversation. They did speak on this item. So we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Can I ask for a clarification, please, to the mayor? What is the motion?
The motion is to go with the pilot project of the one-way street, painting the street white of the residential area, but it's based on county approval.
So just want to add what that means. A pilot project of how we will operate the project.
Implementation and cost.
Thank you, and we'll take it to the county for approval. Before we take it to you to approval next month, we bring it forth, so you understand what the project is, the project impacts, and at that point you will vote for some implementation, or at least move forward with the county approval process. But let's gather our heads around the cost, as well as the impacts that may come forth.
And this is not simply 2 streets that we had before, 89th and 90th. This is the entirety of the town.
Yep, correct.
We're not doing it yet. He's gonna bring it back to us.
I understand. You want this for the entirety of the town.
The motion was
My
for the
understanding
residential
is-
neighborhood, yes.
Of course.
That's what I'm understanding, from 88th Street to 95th Street. Just get the cost and implementation.
You'll come back next month with some recommendation.
Next month, I'll come back with what's being motioned right now, based if it changes or not.
All right.
Commissioner Lansman?
Yes.
Commissioner Mashine?
Yes.
Commissioner Velasquez?
No.
Vice Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Danziger?
Yes.
Mayor, the motion carries.
Item 2B, turtle-friendly lighting on the beach, walking path, and within dune limits, and review options for implementation. Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Under Hector again, but you'll see in the memo that we put out, we're seeking some guidance on the turtle lighting. We do have some a test area, a pilot area out behind the community center where we put in some solar lights that you see the picture here that tend to help a little bit out there. But as far as permanent, there's a lot of moving parts if we were to put in conduit and wiring and that type of thing. So I'll let Hector continue with this conversation and the explanation of, cost involved.
Thank you, Town Manager. So we have a whole beach line on the east side. It's 1 mile long approximately. And we were tasked, what can we do to make it safer, and specifically on the walkway. So when we're looking at the beach, we look at it at 2 parts that are used other than the beach. But from a maintenance standpoint, that we do the walkway, we do the hard pack. And both of them have different challenges. So the challenge put forth to us is, how can we make the walking path? During the winter hours, sundown is a lot sooner. Sometimes you're encountered in a position where you're still out there in the sun and you catch the sundown. So what can we do to make it a little safer? And the question was, can we do some kind of turtle-friendly pedestrian lighting? Turtle-friendly means amber lighting or shielding. And the pedestrian is what's safe for the pedestrians. So we went off and what can we do right now within our resources, within our approved budget, and we installed these fixtures out there that are specifically behind the community center, and we installed them in different types of patterns to see how they visually help. We've gathered some information, we've gotten some good feedback off it, and ultimately we put that on your court. Do we want to proceed to install that, or is the direction a little bit different? And that's where we're at. That specific project, we know what the known costs are, we know what the pilot gave us as far as the maintenance work for it, so we know how much that costs. Anything else, I would need to know just more direction so that we can come back to you. Just keep in mind, the walking path is not town-owned. It's property that it's considered part of the beach. So therefore, anything within the walking path would require some level of state approval through FDEP. What we were able to implement, we implemented it through our existing permit that allows us to have these 4x4s. So the lights, we installed them on the 4x4s. It was within the merits of our permit. It was simple enough that we were able to do. Anything that involves installing something else, permanent structure, other than the current 4x4s, again, we would have to go back to FDEP, let them know what our plan is, try to get some costs out of it, and then bring them forth to the commission so that, you can make a decision on that matter. But we did do something, and just would be curious to hear your thoughts on it and if it's what you were seeking.
All right, so if I may, this was my item I brought forward to the commission. The idea was to get lighting on the beach path as discussed for safety, for the residents to be able to walk up and down the beach after dark, which at the winter is early hours. We implemented a quick pilot in front of 93rd. Unfortunately, the pictures don't really do justice. If you're out there, you'll see that, you can see some orange lights. It looks like a runway, but it doesn't actually light up the beach path. You can't see what you're walking on. You can't see the bushes. It was a nice try. The issue that we're facing with doing something more extravagant on this beach path is there is a project upcoming in which the town is going to be renourishing that entire area. They're going to be framing in that whole path and lifting it up a bit. There's going to be a lot of work in the next 3 years. Correct me if I'm wrong. Getting this information from you. So, for us to put all that money in to, let's say, implement nicer lighting like you see in Bell Harbor on the 70th Street and the 80th Street, it would kind of be a waste because we'd put that all in and rip it out. The idea that I'd like to put forward is to kind of put that money, because I'd like to do something within the next 3 years and improve our beach and safety, which is what our entire, what we ran on is pedestrian safety. To put that within, I guess, what is it called, the hard pack down on the bottom. That is a little more complicated because, as discussed, it's private property. The one on top is county property, that's private. I'm sure we won't have an issue, and I know I've spoken with Lily a bit about this, that there is already precedence for use of that property. It wouldn't be on the path, it would be behind the ropes, and just put a little more extravagant lights as we've seen downstairs. Or maybe, so the idea was to put forth a motion to have Hector come back with options and pricing to put lighting in the hard pack. And then maybe continue these lights, some of these running lights along here, because it's something cheap to put in, but it does look visually appealing. It doesn't do what we were trying to do, which is improve safety, but it still looks nicer. And then within 3 years, hopefully when that major project is done, we can address that path again. No, we're asking for a motion now.
Oh, I'll make the motion. Can we do the?
I would rather you didn't.
I'd like to make a motion to do, I guess, one-sided every pole option,
That's not, he's going to come back with options and
but you have them right
pricing.
here.
He's going to come back with pricing and options. We don't determine which poles, how many feet
But
apart.
these
That's
pole,
part of
but
what
the
he does.
pricing is already here. It says two-sided every pole option,
add-
42,900.
That's for the little one. Again,
That's for the existing configuration.
Okay, so we're asking to
One-sided. So
move
so what you're
expensive
asking
lighting
is
to
more
the hard
expensive?
pack. I'm
Is what you're
pretty sure-
asking. This is for what then?
Walking path.
And then you want the.
He's talking.
So, but I'm
So
not understanding
I'm
your.
going to ask a commissioner that understands what I just spoke about. If
Well,
you
I
could
do,
put forth
but
a
you,
motion.
can you kindly explain then? Because what exactly are you talking
I'll
about?
put forth a
Instead
motion
of
for,
insulting people.
I'll put forth a motion for, through the town manager, for the town public works director to give us other options of permanent lighting down at the hard pack, not the walking path.
Didn't you just say that?
Right, is there a second?
I'll second.
But hold on a second, didn't you say that, that
Commissioner, you're not
permanent
recognized. You need to
lighting-
be
okay.
recognized before you
I
speak.
have a question.
You still have to be recognized,
Okay, so then
okay? I
I
know
have
you've
a
missed a
question.
couple of meetings,
Okay,
but
I
this
don't
is the
care.
process
I
that we
have a
all
question.
follow. Commissioner, you need to be recognized.
Okay, I have a question.
That's not how you're recognized. You
Okay.
raise your hand silently and you wait
I
until your
have a
call, just like
question.
everyone else. You're
I have
not
a
listening. Is there anyone that knows the process that has any questions on this?
I have a question.
Point of
Yes,
I've had my hand up all this time.
So, are you recognizing me?
yes.
So it's point of inquiry. So I
Oh, thank you.
observe these lights and they're great. And when we're ready for them on the walking path, I think it's a great idea. I wasn't sure, are these solar powered?
They are, and Commissioner, through the mayor, those lights are solar powered. Some of the feedback we got from them, they don't necessarily provide a safety objective, but they do provide if you're a jogger at night, it lets you know that's not a level terrain.
Right.
And naturally, it's not level terrain, so if you're a jogger, it does give you a sense
Right.
relative to where you're at, so that you're jogging a little bit safer. This was composed based off, all these numbers are composed based off those lights, and they are solar power. 10 hours to 12 hours is what they give us.
So, and what I observed was on one side, and that looked good. So when we're ready to look into that again. But, so then on the hard pack, are you talking about like what they have in Miami Beach, going up their bike path, that type of light, or will you come back to us with
I
what
will
you're
look at
talking about?
options, and Commissioner, through the mayor, I will look at different options that other municipalities to the north and south of us have implemented, as well as give you cost estimates for two types of fixtures. They will be stronger, that's my understanding, than what's currently out there, as well as what is it gonna take? You know, now we're going into private property, so what kind of permitting process are we gonna have to embark so that we can accomplish this? I believe the northern and southern municipalities, they
Hector,
don't.
can you call the point of inquiry, please? We can't hear him. You're talking. Yes, you can't be talking to each other. Thank you.
I would have to see what they did. I do understand that they did not install it in the private property. We are seeking to install in the private property, so that changes.
Right, it's not the same dynamic. I understand that.
What that process would entail, I will bring forth with the update of the pricing. And it's it's an estimate of probable cost. And then I'll also provide a recommendation since, as the mayor alluded to, we will be doing a study, an engineering and permitting, well, not study, beyond that, we will engineer and permit some beautification on the dunes, and if it's worth incorporating the lights up above that level, and, that's the 3-year project that.
Would these same lights that you're showing on the walking path work on the hard pack? Or you need something
I think the best visual
more
would probably.
substantial?
It's the current lights that we have out there. It's that's what I'm understanding. We want bigger, a little bigger, just enough to create a safety, something more safe for people to see. With that said, if you saw the lights that were down here in the lobby, it's probably going to be some kind of variation of those.
Okay.
With the small dots being the least, and the taller one being the most. And then somewhere in there, I'll give you a range of different options based on those lights, since we have a visual for those already.
Thank you.
Commissioner?
Thank you. So basically what what then these numbers that you're showing us here, this is for the walk path?
And
Or what exactly is this? Because I thought these were numbers already for this project.
Commissioner, through the mayor, these numbers are based on what we did out there with the current product we installed out there, which are the little diode
Okay.
solar lights. So if we wanted to implement those on a larger scale, you have some figures to work with based on the different configurations that we priced out as well
Okay,
for
so
you.
I just want to understand, so I know what I'm voting on here. What exactly are we asking for you to get tonight with this motion that's on the table? I don't even know what's on the table right now.
Right now, my understanding is we're just discussing these lights, what we installed, and just looking to see what the commission wants to do.
Well, we want to put the lights, you're just going to come back with the price. Is that what it is?
Whatever is tasked to us through the, through this motion right now, that's what we'll do.
Okay.
We just have to be clear about what it is that we're being tasked
Let me
for.
get a point of
Can I hear the
clarification through the
motion
mayor. Please, Sandra, what is the motion again?
I have the motion to direct, in this case will be the manager, and the Public Works Director to come back with options on pricing to install lighting in the hard pack.
And one more question through the mayor. Have we, Mr. CFO, have we budgeted for this in fiscal '23? Or can we adjust some things just so we know we have money?
This was, by the way, in our budget.
Thank you. Jason Green, Assistant Town Manager, CFO. Through the mayor, though this was one of the projects, I believe, that was discussed during our visioning workshop in April, it did not make it through at this stage specifically for the project, any improvements on the hard pack specifically. But as the mayor had said, there's a larger project that currently how it's set in the preliminary budget is there's about $70,000, $80,000 to do the permitting and planning and design work for the improvements on the top of the dune, which is the walking path. So what it appears, what we're hearing tonight is the hard pack lighting would be a separate thing. So if we did that, this separate cost is not incorporated or estimated in the 2023 budget, but can be, as we often do, through a budget amendment.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm just to clarify, because apparently it wasn't as clear. We voted on this in the budget workshop to put lighting on that top path. Hector, was good enough to try a pilot program with a product that was pretty cheap compared to what we thought it would be. Unfortunately, it's not doing what it needs to do, which is to actually brighten up the path and lighten up and provide safety. Unfortunately, to put something more expensive, we are going to be tearing up that whole area within the next 3 years and redoing it. So we want to do something within the next 2 years. We want to implement change. We want to, ensure safety within the neighborhood. So we're coming back with, let's put it on the hard pack, which is easier because that's not being touched. In 3 years, we can talk about, the running path once that's complete, if we want to implement, more lighting up there, or if we're satisfied down at the hard pack and let somebody run up in the dark if that's what they want. But that's something to address, 3 years from now. So, Madam Clerk, you want to call the roll, please, on this item?
Yes, Mayor. Commissioner Mashai?
Thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Velasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner Lansman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Danziger?
Yes.
Mayor, the motion carries.
All right, so next month, Hector?
We'll have a number next
For next meeting, I'm saying.
We're not keeping you busy enough, are we?
All right, item 2C, upgrade to Surfside street sign. That's my item, so we'll go back to our normal format. I'll introduce it, I'll ask for a motion, and then we'll discuss it. The idea was to put some money to beautify this town. I think this is an easy, a low-hanging fruit we can do, and it really changes the neighborhood and the visibility of our corners and our town in general. So the idea was to put forth a motion to have Hector come back with some pricings and options for street signs, right? From what I understand, we have one, but there's a few other pieces that he wants to come back to this commission with. And then we, as a commission, can vote if we want to spend the money to, increase the, and improve the town.
I'll make a motion for Hector to come back with us on pricing on different street sign options.
Is there a second on this?
Second.
All right, Hector, you have anything to, you wanted some clarification on this item?
Just, I did see the item, I saw the pictures, and there's different things we can do. There's really, fortunately enough, these signs, as long as we're not changing the names of the streets, there's ways we could decorate them, and there's two parts to this. It's definitely the pole first, the actual pole and the frame or the border of the sign itself. And then there's the actual sign itself. A stop sign will always look like a stop sign, but Abbott Avenue, you could definitely play with fonts as well as town seals and whatnot. And my understanding is just bring you a few options and see what can play out. Just number out there preliminarily, you're looking at around 600 per fixture, all said and done. So just so you could blow it up to scale it to what that number would be. And secondly is, are we looking at stop signs and street name signs? Are we looking
Street signs
just
right now was the item.
and just residential area?
Yeah.
Easy. I have the information I need to bring you some numbers next month.
All right, just to clarify to the commission, the photos you're looking at was just a sample for sample purpose only. I wasn't asking for a brown and gold sign specifically. It's just showing what the difference is between that. I think it's important to note that.
I have the information. I'll bring it to you next month, and we'll take it from there.
All right, so is there any discussion, any questions on this? Oh my gosh, you just have to raise your hand and be recognized, that's all. You have any questions? Okay.
Oh, boy, it wasn't open, okay. Now, these signs, will they be, like, that you could see them at nighttime? Because like the green ones, I know that the light goes on it and it kind of like reflects.
But
So will these be reflective as well, or we're just bringing some cute things in?
Commissioner, absolutely, they will, the signs we install have to abide to Miami-Dade County Public Works and Transportation Standards. So what makes that reflect, it's actually called engineering grade reflective printing material. And what it does, it captures whatever light you're shooting into it, and then it reflects back whatever it is that you're seeing, and usually it's a green background with some white letters. There's definitely a lot of options that be played with that. So I will bring you I think I can even get you a few renderings on how they would finally look. And again, they're just, let's see how it looks and take it as a baseline rendering, but just to give you an idea of what's priced out. But yes, to answer your question.
Just one question through the mayor. Could we schedule a special meeting just to deal with Hector?
Third meeting every month?
We are asking a lot. Thank you for what you do in your day-to-day job, Mr. Manager, Mr. Director. But I almost say, partly kiddingly, but I also say, you know, we're 6:45 and we haven't even finished the leftovers from last month. So maybe we should do something resident-friendly to get through some of these things so that you have a chance to do the research, of course, and come back to us, but we can get a chance to make some progress, and I'll leave it there.
And Commissioner, sorry, Mayor, to add just to that, it's not to sound cliche, but it really is a team effort. You see me here, there's a big, tall guy that helps me out. So it's a team effort. I do want to clear. So thank you.
Madam Clerk, you want to call the roll on this?
Commissioner Velasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner Landsman?
Yes.
Commissioner Mashain?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Danziger?
Yes.
Mayor, the motion carries.
Thank you. Item 2D, discussion to be held public forum regarding new law affecting condominiums. Commissioner Maisha, this is your item. If you don't mind introducing it and then putting forth the motion.
Thank you. Recently, as of July 1st, we have new condominium laws, and I think it's really important to have a public forum to educate the condominium owners, the public, the property managers, the condo boards. And so they recently had one in Aventura, which was very successful. And we're putting together people that actually happen to pass the bill, such as Senator Pizzo and other political figures at this forum to be able to get educated in what these new rules are coming down within 2 years. So that is the purpose of it. 1 year after the collapse, local officials are still working to ensure building safety. And now, thanks to the Florida legislatures, we have new laws that will protect our condominiums. So I'm directing the town administration to host a town hall discussion.
You want to just, I guess, put that forth in a motion? And we can
And
say-
I'd like to make a motion to move this public forum forward.
I'll second that motion. I'll second her motion.
All right,
Just
any
a-
questions or
just a
comments on
quick
this
question to the
item?
mayor. Mr. Manager, do we need a motion for this? Can we just do this as a service to our community?
You, through the mayor, if there's anything, you can make a motion on anything, but yeah, you can just direct this, and we've done some things like this before. We've already been in contact with Senator Pizzo's office. He's willing to do it. We've already had a conversation, but you can formalize it as your support for,
Yeah, so if I may-
educating our
Commissioner
citizens.
Maisha, I can't direct the town manager to do anything. I can't. It's got to come forth from a commission, and it comes forth as a motion. So that is how this works.
Do we need a first read and a second read as well?
No, it's not.
No, this is directing the,
Just checking.
No.
All right, are there any
I want this to be 4 months
questions or
from now.
comments on this item?
Okay.
Of course, yes.
Thank you, Mary Ann, for bringing this to the commission. I think it's a very good thing. I think it's something that is very much needed, and I think that a lot of these condo associations need to start tightening their belt and start thinking about the residents that live in these buildings, because this needs to be taken serious. What happened at the Champlain can never happen again, and I'm glad that Senator Pizzo is in on this, and he's trying to make changes so that people can live more comfortable in their buildings and know that they feel safe at nighttime. So I definitely support this.
Madam
Thank-
Clerk, you want to call? Oh, sorry.
No, I was just saying, thank you, Commissioner Maisha, for bringing this forward. We have a lot of residents that live in older buildings, 30 years plus, so great job on this one. Fully supported.
Including my building.
Yes, so I appreciate it as well. I just don't want to waste time because we have 10 minutes left of this meeting, so.
All in
call the
favor,
roll,
say
please.
aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor, the motion carries.
All right.
Item 2E, creating a limited public forum for flag banner display on town property. As my item, I'll introduce it, and that's ask for a motion. As much as everybody is here for, this is not a discussion about the pride flag. As we saw from the last meeting, everything these days is controversial. I called it 3 months ago, what's gonna happen when you start putting forward and making publicity about flags, and what's gonna come forward, and it did. And I didn't reach out to it, and it came out myself, and you can see how we live in, you know, we talk about diversity and inclusion. We live in a community where everybody gets offended by something. So it's important to understand what we're putting up, and make sure that we are not putting up anything that I guess is offensive towards the residents, which is why it was important to come up with a flag policy as just opposed to reacting to somebody asking for something and flying something, which can open up a big can of worms. It's, you know, somebody mentioned this world famous activist that was just Activist of the Year, I think it was called, who happened to have been on the commission for 2 years and never brought it forward herself. So I don't know who gave that person that award. This town had a gay vice mayor for 6 years, a gay mayor for a number of years. And I'm bringing this up because the public said, why are we having this discussion, right? It should be obvious. Well, apparently it's not obvious because we've had a gay vice mayor for 6 years. We've had a gay mayor, we've had gay commissioners, and it never seemed to have been a priority. So I don't, you know, I guess this commission was taken aback, especially by the same, you know, we've had people who were on a commission last year that didn't put forward, and the year before that, and suddenly we were at fault for not just reacting to something that residents had asked for without any sort of discussion within a commission. And again, what this last meeting showed us is that this is a controversial issue because it doesn't sit right with people. And again, I'm okay with displaying certain messages if that's what some of the residents want and it makes them feel included and it makes them feel better. But it's important to take everybody's feelings and everybody's opinions at once, which is why what we're trying to do is propose, or what I would like to do is propose a solution to make a process for this, to ensure that this is something that the community would like to see. So not anybody can come up to this commission and demand their flag be flown, because like we saw, there are groups that can be offensive, there are groups that are just straight out hateful, and it's scary to open it up from, for one, it puts us in liability because we talk about town-sponsored speech. Well, why are we standing for the pride flag and the Israeli flag and not the Cuban flag or not the Venezuelan flag? And at what point do the other flags come back and say, why not ours? So obviously everybody is welcome in this town, but the idea is to put forth, and not just act willy-nilly where every year some commission comes forward and says, okay, we're gonna do this one, or we're not gonna do that one, but actually put forth a policy that we're gonna think through and keep that policy open and fair to anybody who wants to feel represented within the town. It's not just about one community, it's about everybody here. So I have some ideas that I put forward I'd like to present to the commission as soon as I can find it. So I guess we'll start. Can we start with a motion to bring the item to the table to pass a flag policy as discussed here today by the commission?
Can I make a motion related to this that perhaps isn't exactly what we're looking for here?
Well, we haven't discussed the details, so I'd like to just put forth a motion.
Let-
and-
let-
This is not a free-for-all, so again, we need to be recognized.
Let me float this, and Madam Attorney, feel free to shoot me down. I'd like to move that we recognize the Gay Pride event for June of next year and fly the flag on our government flagpole.
So the item discussed,
Support that. Thank you, Fred. It's
This
government
is not-
speech, and I
Commissioner,
fully support that. I'm
you are out of
seconding his
order.
motion.
you are out of order. The item, this, first of all, there is Commissioner, stop interrupting, please. You're out of order. There is an item on today's agenda, and that's not it. The item is to put forth a flag policy. We had the other meeting, we supported Pride Month. This is not what we're discussing. You're welcome to put that on the agenda for next month, if that's what you
No,
would like.
a commissioner can make a
Commissioner, please
motion
don't
whenever they want.
interrupt.
Please, can we
Please
have
don't
our town
interrupt.
attorney, so, wait a
Commissioner,
minute.
you are out of order. If you're going to
No, because it's
continue,
not the motion that
okay.
you want.
Can I get a motion
But
for
there is a
recess, please?
motion here.
There is a motion on the table.
There is a motion, and a commissioner
not the
can
item.
make, I don't care what your motion is.
Okay.
A
Commissioner,
commissioner
you are
can
out
make
of
a
order.
motion.
I am not here to
So then
argue
why don't
with
you
you.
let our
I am not
town
here to argue
attorney?
with you, so I'm going to
un-
ask you for the fourth time to
Yeah.
please stop talking. Thank
No,
you.
it's not the motions that you want.
Commissioner, you're still talking. Thank you.
Okay.
Through the mayor, with my motion, can I ask the town attorney if this is even viable at this point in time?
Through the mayor, respond?
Yeah.
Yes, I think Mr. Commissioner Landsman can make a motion
Thank you.
to that regard.
I second his motion.
Is there a third, a fourth?
No, I have a point of information. Through the town attorney, I mean, we had I'm personally okay with the flag, but shouldn't we have a policy or something in place before?
That's not part of this motion.
That's your.
It's my question for the town attorney. So, do you recommend we have a policy or something put in place versus just, are we gonna open ourselves up, which is what we were going in circles with last time? So I'm not trying to get that information clarified.
Through the mayor, would you like me, should I respond? We laid out the options last month in great detail, 3 options that the town had. Under the option number 1, which is government messaging, put up a flag as the government or town-sponsored message. The town commission, or you can direct, your manager can put up whatever flags it chooses. Our recommendation is that you do make a conscious decision and have a policy in place. Which flags you want to fly or not, that's totally a decision of this commission, or it can be delegated to your manager.
All right, so there,
Point of information through the mayor. You just, any policy with your, or just?
Commissioner, you are not recognized. Please understand the order and the process of which this meeting is run. It is not a hard concept.
Through the mayor, back to the vice mayor, my motion is to specifically address next year's June flying of the gay pride flag, the pride flag. We could perhaps also have a motion after this to address the policy, but I am not including this as a policy. I'm including it as a simple act for next June to get the approval now of the commission or not for that one act. Madam Attorney, through the mayor, can we have another motion then after this, whether it passes or not, to address the flag policy?
Yes, Commissioner?
Mayor, may I call the roll?
Yep.
Commissioner Mushide?
No, I want to wait till we hear about the policy first.
Commissioner Velasquez?
Don't get another chance, Mary Ann. My answer is yes.
Commissioner Landsman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rose?
I'm glad to see my commissioner to the right has changed her mind since last year. I'm also a yes.
Mayor Danziger?
Nope.
Mayor, the motion carries.
Yep. All right, I've asked you people at the last meeting, I'm going to remind again because I didn't mention the rules of decorum, but clapping in the thing is wrong. So silent, do whatever it is that you want. Commissioner, there are rules. There are rules that we have to follow as elected officials. There are rules that we should show the public, and you need to be following them just as well. All right. So it seems like we don't need a policy, so I would just move forward and just skip the item and move on to item.
Thank you.
Mayor, just, it's 6:58. I don't know if you want to extend this meeting and push the regular meeting back, or if you want to move the 3 items left to another meeting.
Well, you're gonna,
Motion? I'd like to make a motion.
the motion is to extend. We need a motion to extend.
No,
at
I
this
need
point.
I want to make a motion to put these 3 items for next month.
That's not how this works. We need a motion to extend because the meeting
Okay,
is
but
over.
no,
So
because
can
you
we
don't
get a
have to
motion
extend the meeting. We can just make a motion. I have a right to make a motion. Why is it that have to be your motions only? The motions that you want. I'm a commissioner, I'm an elected official, and I have the right to make a motion. And my motion is that I'd like to put these 3 items for next month.
Is there a second?
Well, thanks a lot.
All right, that motion dies.
I'd like to make a motion to add these 3 items or 4 items, whatever we have left, to our next meeting starting at 7 o'clock.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is that today's meeting?
Today's meeting, yes.
Today's meeting.
But are you saying at the end of that meeting or at the
Commissioner,
beginning?
you are out of order.
Well, I need to
What
have,
part
I'm
aren't you
asking a
understanding?
question.
So you put in a point of inquiry and you ask a
Okay,
question.
point of
There's a
inquiry.
process to this. Why don't you
Point of
understand that?
inquiry.
What is your inquiry?
Okay, is this at the end of the meeting or at the beginning of the 7 o'clock?
It will go at the end in the discussion items.
Okay, thank you.
I'll
Madam
second
Clerk?
that.
All in favor?
Aye.
No.
Aye. All right, so we have 4 to 1. Can I get a motion
Motion to
adjourn?
recess.
It's adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor,
All in
say aye.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, I think we'll just take a 5-minute recess and get back to our regularly scheduled